What led to you having to leave being a cop? Because I've noticed a lot of guys who become cops actually like the job and want to stay at it.
Oh,
Was it
I
a
loved
money
it.
thing or a dickhead thing? What was it?
So, Captain Dickhead,
Okay.
that you guys have read the stories about many times. He was actually under multiple investigations for graping
Mm.
underage girls while
Ooh.
on duty,
Ooh.
while he was a sergeant in patrol. Um, I can talk about it now because the NDA's expired after his trial, so
Ooh.
that he got off. They've short bust in the jury from Rollins to
Wow.
Casper. So what happened was Wyoming Division of Criminal Investigation, which is our state FBI. I don't know what you guys call it in Michigan, but we have division. We have yeah.
Yeah.
We have state troopers. We have Division of Criminal Investigation, Wyoming Game and Fish, which have more authority than any law enforcement officer in the entire state.
Well, that's the way it is across the entire country, actually.
Well, you guys have DNR, which is because I have family in Michigan, so you guys have DNR,
Yeah, we do.
which does parks and game and fish. We just have game and fish, and then a separate agency is park rangers.
All right.
So DCI, I'm working, and I start becoming friends with a DCI officer, with an agent,
Okay.
and we've worked a couple of cases together. And he's like, "Hey, have you heard the rumor? You know, like he's over at my house drinking beer one night, and it's just him and I. I'm a single guy, you know, whatever, chilling with my buds and having a little house party. And he's like, "Hey, man, I got to talk to you in your guest room," which was basically my office. So I walk in there and I'm like, "Hey, yeah, what's up, bro?" And he's like, "Hey, have you heard some rumors around town about your captain and about the chief?" And I'm like, "Well, my dad said some things from when he worked DCI about the chief, but you know, he was proud of me, so he just left it alone. Didn't want to taint my view." And he's like, "Okay." He's like, "Well, what has your dad told you?" So I told him what my dad had told me, or what little my dad had told me. And he's like, "All right, well, so we have an active investigation between DCI, FBI, ATF,
Wow.
all on the captain." And like my world collapsed.
Oh shit.
Like
Yeah, that's some serious
I
shit.
had respect for my captain, and I'm like, "All right, so tell me what's going on." He's like, "Well, so basically what happened was he had raped a girl.
Mm-hmm.
She was deployed to Iraq, and stuff had happened. She was deployed with the guard. Some things happened.
Mm-hmm.
She'd been in combat, and it triggered some memory. And she'd had heard rumors of girls and women being raped by Hajis.
Okay.
Mm.
And so it triggered her, and she actually got caught by her bunkmate trying to put her M4 in her mouth,
Oh.
loaded. That led to another girl who was an EMT in Florida who had been raped by him, who read the story in the paper.
Uh-huh.
She tried to put her boyfriend, who was a Volusia County Sheriff's deputy. Don't quote me on that. I think it was Volusia County, Florida.
Okay.
Tried to put her boyfriend's service pistol in her mouth after dealing with a rape victim and reading the story. Like, it triggered the memories. She tried to off herself.
God damn.
It all got passed back to the state of Wyoming. And then, obviously, because he's got a lot of the FBI certs and a lot of the ATF certs, and he was a county commissioner too, and his mommy had been a district court judge.
So he's got all of the bells and whistles.
Oh yeah, so he'd actually gone to the Wyoming State Pen on rape charges when he worked at the mine, and his mommy got the charges dropped.
Oh.
Yeah.
So, and he was able to join law enforcement.
Yeah.
So the whole thing ended up, it went on for like, I basically worked undercover. The chief was always trying to get one of us to be a DCI agent to work with the state and work, and do investigations, narcotics investigations, undercover. And they kept telling him, they're like, "We already got a man doing that," but they wouldn't tell him who it was. They would never cooperate with the chief. And it turned up one night we get this call that they needed DCI agents. And I heard it on the radio, and my ASAC calls me up and he's like, "Hey, I need you to show up, but I need you to show up."
What's an ASAC?
So it's your special agent in charge, but it's your agent, special agent, or whatever in charge.
Okay.
Right.
So he calls me up and he's like, "Hey, bro, there's nobody else available. Like nobody in Saratoga, nobody in Hannah. Hell, 100 miles away in Rock Springs, we don't have anybody available. So it's you and I tonight." He's
Right.
like, "But what I want you to do is I want you to take your shield off your uniform and I want you to put our shield on your uniform and show up to this call in uniform in your unit." So I show up on scene, and Callie dickhead, his daughter and I had broken up by then. Callie dickhead sees me with the 7-point star. He doesn't see me with my shield anymore. Sees
Mhm.
me with their shield and standing next to my agent, my agent in charge. And he goes and reports me to the chief. Well, the chief tried to screw me over. And before this, we'd all been locked in the squad room with Chief and Captain Dickhead. And literally the speech we were given is, yes, there's an investigation against the captain. If DC, yes, that's true. The rumors aren't false. The news reports aren't false. But here's what's going to happen. If DCI, I don't care if it's DCI, FBI, ATF, if they come to talk to you, you report them to your sergeant. Your sergeant's unavailable. You report him to your lieutenant. He's unavailable. You report him to the officer of the day if they're both unavailable. Or you report him to the captain or I. No exceptions.
So they don't
So
want
then-
you to actually speak to any of these investigators.
Exactly. So he ended up finding out about it, and he comes and gets me with my lieutenant. My lieutenant was, the captain had taken time off for medical reasons.
Yeah, yeah.
And my lieutenant was supposed to be taking the captain's position, and my lieutenant had just had eye surgery, so he's kind of doing that job. And he shows up, and he says, "Hey, I need." Lieutenant shows up. He says, "I need you to talk to the chief."
Mhm.
I walk out. Chief's like, "Hey, get in my car." I'm like, "All right, what about my unit, sir? What's going on?" He's like, "I need you to call 42, which means, go home, end of shift." And we're driving, and he's like, "I'm going to take you home." So he drives me home, and he goes, "So we have a lot of issues going on with you right now."
Mhm.
He's like, "One of the primary issues is blue backs blue no matter what." And I'm like,
Yeah, that is why we're in the problems
Yeah.
we're having right now.
well, so I get pissed, and I'm like, well, I don't give a fuck. I swore an oath to the U.S. Constitution. I swore an oath to the state Constitution. Like, I went to the academy. I studied this shit. Like, no, that's not how this shit works. And he drives me to my apartment, and I remember reaching down to my key fob on my belt, on my basket weave leather belt.
Yeah.
And I pull my keys off, and I go to hand my whole key ring to him. I take my house key and my personal truck key off it, and I go to hand him my keys. And he's like, what are you doing with this? And I'm like, you need to take my keys away from me, sir, because if I get drunk tonight, I'm going to the city garage, I'm getting my truck, and I'm going to fucking find a lake. I'll drive to Sinclair and put it in the North Platte River. I'll drive all the way to Casper and put it in Alcova. Like, I'll put it through the front of the fucking police department. Like, I'm going to the bar. And he's like, no, everything's good. Like, you just keep it tomorrow, turn the rest of your gear, in which I kept a uniform shirt. I kept a couple of patches that I cut off a jacket and a shirt.
Okay.
Turn the rest of my shit in. But in the meantime, I was fuming, and I was friends with the DA and her husband. So I called them because we had a bunch of cases pending that Callie Dick had done that were a little bit shady. So I kind of, I told her to investigate them. Then after that phone call, because she was pissed, she was livid about them getting rid of me. I called a district court judge who was a friend of mine. She was a single gal in her 40s, good looking gal. And I called her, and I'm like, so this is what's going on. Like, this is what they did. She's like, are you fucking serious? Like, blows up. And I'm like, yeah. So I'm going to the bar. I'm going to the bar with my buddies. I'm going to get shit faced. I'm going to go take the truck, and I'm going to go wreck it. And she's like, I'll be at your apartment in 5 minutes. And I'm like, you don't understand how this is going on. I'm leaving my apartment in 5 minutes. She's like, I swear to God, I'm going to have a sheriff's deputy parked outside of your house. You're not leaving your house. I will be there in 5 minutes to pick you up. We're going to the bar together. We're going to have a couple of drinks, and then you're going to go to my house, and we're going to talk. And I'm going to talk you down.
Talk you down with some vajayjay.
You needed that.
Yeah, and a little bit of wine too. Actually, a lot of
There
good
you go.
wine.
A little bit of that.
After all that happened, I got 3 months severance pay, all my comp time paid, plus vacation I hadn't earned yet, and I got unemployment out of it. And I did like any young 22, 23-year-old would do, blew my freaking money, and on strippers and booze and.
Oh,
and then I got it, but I literally got a job like a week later. I was in the oil field working as a roustabout.
Watch Grunt Speak live every Tuesday and Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern. And if you want to join Pop for Supporter Sundays, go to redonkulous.com/donate and make a monthly pledge. A link is in the Meat Gazer box.